The Galactic Council Chamber on Valor Prime glowed with soft blue light from floating crystal panels. 53 alien species sat in their high seats, each one ancient, proud, and sure of their place at the top of the galaxy. Tall Kalith, with bodies like living glass, slow-moving Vorun, with many tentacles, bright Silene that shimmered like deep-sea fish, and dozens more watched quietly. Today was a small matter to them. The humans had finally arrived after 80 long years of asking. The human group walked in slowly. Ambassador Elena Voss led them. She was tall, with short dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her came scientists, soldiers in plain uniforms, and a few quiet engineers. They looked small and plain next to the shining aliens. Elena stepped to the center podium. Her voice was calm and clear. "We come as friends," she said. "Humanity asks only for what others already have. Full observer rights, safe passage through the main hyperspace lanes, and a seat when decisions are made about the stars." The chamber stayed silent for a moment. Then the Kalith speaker rose. His voice sounded like wind through thin ice. "Your species is young," he said. "You still use slow ships and simple guns that throw metal very fast. These are tools of children learning to walk. The mature races long ago learned true travel, moving instantly through folded space, touching distant stars without crossing the dark between. Teleportation is the sign of wisdom. Gravitic drives are the mark of control. You have not reached that level. Come back when your people grow up." Soft laughter rolled through the seats like gentle waves. The Varun ambassador waved a tentacle in polite agreement. A Silene representative glowed brighter for a second, showing amusement. Elena Voss did not move. Her face stayed hard like stone. She waited until the laughter died. Then she spoke again, voice low but firm. "We hear you. We understand what you value. We will work on the things you say matter most." She gave a small bow, the kind that showed respect without giving up strength, and turned away. The human group walked out in silence. No one spoke until the heavy doors closed behind them. Outside, in the cold corridor that led to their small embassy ship, Elena stopped. Admiral Jian Chen, a short man with gray at his temples, and the calm look of someone who had seen too many battles, stepped close. "They laughed at us," he said quietly. Elena looked at him. "Yes, they did." Jian waited. Elena's mouth curved just a little, not a smile, but something close. "They think we are still throwing rocks because we like rocks. They have no idea how much we can throw, or how fast." Jian nodded once. "Orders?" "Nothing changes," Elena said. "We keep building, we keep testing, and we keep very quiet about what comes next." They walked toward the shuttle bay together. Far above them, through the clear dome of the spire, stars burned cold and endless. The aliens inside the chamber had already moved on to talk about trade routes and old border disputes. They felt safe. They felt in control. They believed the humans would need centuries to learn the elegant ways of the old races. They were wrong. Back on the embassy ship, in a small dark room with no windows, Elena sat with her team. Maps of the galaxy glowed on the walls. Ship designs floated in hologram form. Ugly, blocky ships covered in long magnetic rails and thick armor plates. No smooth curves, no glowing energy fields, just raw power and simple math, pushed to the edge. "They want teleportation," Elena said. "Fine. We will give them teleportation. But first we remind them why brute force still wins when everyone else forgets how to use it." Admiral Chen leaned forward. "The Draxi pirates are moving again. Intelligence says they plan to hit our new colony on Epsilon Eridani 4 next month." Elena looked at the map. A small red dot blinked there. Human lives, human homes, human hope. "Then we go," she said. "No request for council help. No warning. We handle our own problems. She stood up. Railguns first. Teleporters next. And when the shock hits them, they will finally understand that the galaxy does not belong only to the polite and the patient anymore. The room stayed quiet. Everyone knew what came next was not polite. It was not patient. It was human. And it was already moving. Outside the ship, Valor Prime turned slowly under its twin moons. The Council slept easy that night, dreaming of order that would last forever. They had no idea the order was about to break. The stars around Epsilon Eridani looked calm and cold from far away, but on the fourth planet, everything burned with panic. The Draxi pirate fleet had come fast and mean. 12 heavy raiders, black hulls scarred from old fights, dropped out of hyperspace right above the human colony. They wanted the new iridium mines, the food stores, and the people to sell as slaves. Alarms screamed across the domed settlements. Families ran to shelters, while militia troops grabbed rifles that could barely scratch the enemy's shields. The council had been told weeks ago. A polite message went out from the colony governor. Pirates approaching, request assistance. The reply came slow and formal. The council noted the concern, would send mediators in due time. Please avoid escalation. No ships, no help, just words. On Earth, the message reached the war room under Cheyenne Mountain in minutes. Admiral Jian Chen read it once, then looked at the holomap showing the pirate formation closing in. His voice stayed flat. They think we will beg again. We won't. He gave one order. Indomitable Group deploys now. Silent approach. No broadcast. Railguns only until I say different. The UNS Indomitable was not pretty. She was a kilometer-long brick of steel and coils, built in the belt yards where every gram counted, and beauty did not. Her sisters, Dauntless, Relentless, and Vanguard, flew in tight formation behind her. They burned their drives hard for 3 days, staying dark, no active sensors, just passive listening and cold math. When they were 3 light seconds out from the colony, still invisible to the Draxi, the fleet slowed. Admiral Chen sat on the flag bridge, hands folded. Range confirmed, targets locked, fire plan Alpha. Across the 4 ships, capacitors hummed. Long rail barrels, each 50 meters of superconducting magnets, snapped to life. Inside the barrels, dense tungsten slugs waited. Simple metal rods, the size of a telephone pole. Nothing fancy. No warheads. No seekers. Just mass and speed. The first volley left the guns in perfect silence. No flash. No sound in vacuum. The slugs crossed the gap at 40% light speed. To the Draxi sensors, it looked like nothing at first. Then the lead raider simply came apart. Its forward shield flickered like a soap bubble popping. The slug punched through, vaporizing armor in a white-hot line. Secondary impacts tore the ship from bow to stern. Reactor containment failed. A brief new sun bloomed and died. Before the pirates could scream, the second volley hit. And the third. Lines of invisible death stabbed through space again and again. Shields designed for plasma lances and grav beams did almost nothing against pure kinetic force. The math was brutal. Mass times velocity squared. The Draxi doctrine had forgotten that equation long ago. They built elegant defenses for elegant wars. Humans never stopped building for the oldest kind. On the colony surface, people stared up through viewports. Bright flashes lit the night sky like sudden fireworks. No one cheered yet. They just watched. Back on Indomitable, tactical screens showed 9 raiders already broken into glowing wreckage. The last 3 tried to run, engines flaring hot. Chen allowed himself one small nod. Boarding teams, stand by, but hold fire unless they force it. The remaining pirates broadcast surrender codes within minutes. They had seen what happened to their friends. No fancy teleport assault needed. No boarding torpedoes. Just the promise of more railgun slugs if they did not stop. Human shuttles moved in slow and careful. Marines in heavy armor secured the surviving ships. They found terrified Draxi crews who kept repeating one question in broken standard. How did your slow metal beat our shields? The Marine sergeant in charge looked at the trembling captain and said simply, because we aimed straight and hit hard. That's all. The message packet reached Valor Prime 2 days later. Admiral Chen's voice, calm as stone. Pirate threat neutralized. Colony secure. Human casualties, 0. Civilian losses, none. We await your promised mediation. In the spire of Concord, the chamber went quiet when the recording played. The Kalith speakers stared at the hollow feed of drifting wreckage. The Vorun ambassador's tentacles froze mid-gesture. A Silene representative dimmed until she looked almost black. No one laughed this time. The human delegation had not asked for help. They had not waited. They had simply ended the problem. Elena Voss sat in the observer gallery, arms crossed, face blank. When the speaker finally spoke, his voice carried a tiny shake. This use of crude kinetics in open combat is reckless. It risks chain reactions. It ignores stability protocols. Elena stood up slowly. Every eye turned to her. Our people were under attack, she said. Your stability protocols did not save them. Our railguns did. She paused just long enough. We will keep using what works. Then she sat again. The chamber stayed silent for a full minute. Whispers started after that. Soft, worried, angry. Some species looked at the humans with new eyes. Others turned away, as if looking too long might burn them. On the way back to the embassy ship, Jian Chen met Elena in the corridor. They are scared now, he said. She nodded once. Good. Fear is honest. Let them feel it a little longer. Inside the secure room, the team gathered again. New schematics glowed on the walls. Smaller, stranger devices. Magnetic bottles. Micro-singularity cores. Equations that made normal physicists flinch. Elena pointed at the center hollow. They told us to master teleportation, so we will. But not their way. Our way. She looked around the room at tired, determined faces. Railguns first. We showed them we can still break things the old-fashioned way. Now we show them we can appear where they never expect us. And when we do, she let the sentence hang. Everyone understood. The galaxy had rules written by species who thought war should be polite, distant, controlled. Humans never agreed to those rules. They were about to break them wide open. Far out in the black, the indomitable group turned toward home. Their rail barrels were cooling slowly. Their crews slept hard, knowing they had done what needed doing. But deeper in the soul shipyards, something new was already waking up. Something that would make the Council's elegant order look slow and fragile. The shock was coming, and it would not ask permission. The Council reacted fast after the Epsilon Eridani fight. Within a week, a thick packet of formal sanctions arrived at the human embassy on Valor Prime. The document was long and written in the careful, looping script of the old races. It said humanity had broken stability protocols by using unregulated kinetic weapons in open space. It called the railgun strikes reckless and dangerous to galactic peace. The Council demanded that all human warships submit to inspection within 30 standard days. They also ordered the immediate halt of all kinetic weapon production and the adoption of approved faster-than-light methods, meaning the Council's own teleportation matrices and gravitic shear drives. If humans did not obey, full trade embargo would follow, cutting off rare elements, advanced tech, and safe passage through most lanes. The message ended with a polite but cold line. The Council hoped humanity would choose maturity over barbarism. Ambassador Elena Voss read the sanctions aloud in the embassy briefing room. Her team listened in silence. When she finished, no one spoke for a long moment. Then Admiral John Chen leaned back in his chair and said one word. No. Elena nodded. Exactly. We do not submit our ships, we do not stop building, and we do not wait centuries to learn their pretty tricks. She turned to the chief engineer, Dr. Mara Lin, a small woman with tired eyes and hands that never stopped moving. How close are we to live tests on the displacement system? Mara tapped her tablet. Prototype core is stable. We can fold a single frigate through a microsingularity envelope. Energy cost is high, 3 times what the council matrices use, but it works. No causality buffer needed because we do not care about their rules. We just punch the hole and go through. Elena looked around the room. Then we move up the schedule. No more hiding in the belt yards. We show them now. Spy drones and listening posts tracked human ship movements. They saw nothing unusual at first. The Indomitable group returned to Sol for refit. Trade ships moved normally. Everything looked quiet. The aliens relaxed a little. They thought the sanctions had worked, that the upstarts would bend or break slowly. They were wrong again. On the day the inspection deadline passed, with no human ships arriving at the neutral checkpoint, the council called an emergency session. Delegates filled the Spire chamber early. The Caliph speaker stood ready to announce stronger measures. Then the alarms began, not in the Spire, but across the galaxy. First came reports from the Voruan trade hub at Nexara 7. A massive defense fleet, 40 cruisers in perfect formation, guarded the exclusion zone. Sensors swept the void constantly. Teleport denial fields hummed at full power. Nothing could jump inside without triggering a dozen alarms. At 0317 local time, every sensor on every ship screamed at once. A human battle group, 6 ugly, blocky frigates, appeared directly inside the exclusion zone. No ripple in space, no warning flash. They simply were there, weapons already hot, rail barrels pointed at command ships. The Vorun admiral on the flag bridge froze. His tentacles went stiff. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our buffers should have—" Before he finished, human boarding pods materialized on his bridge. Not elegant quantum tunnels, just brutal magnetic confinement, tearing open tiny, screaming holes in reality. Marines in heavy suits stepped out, rail pistols raised. The admiral stared at the sergeant in front. How did you bypass causality?" The sergeant shrugged under his armor. "We did not bypass it. We paid the price and came anyway. Your fancy fields do not stop someone who doesn't mind bleeding energy." Across the hub, the same thing happened on 20 other flag bridges. Human teams appeared without warning. No long approach, no polite hails. Just sudden presence and overwhelming force. The Varun fleet never fired a shot. Surrender broadcasts went out within minutes. The hub fell without a single casualty on either side. Word raced back to Valor Prime faster than light could carry it. In the Spire, the chamber dissolved into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other. The Caliph speaker tried to call order, but his voice cracked. Hollow feeds showed the human ships sitting calmly in the heart of the Varun formation. No damage, no destruction, just control. Elena Voss walked into the observer gallery during the panic. She carried no weapons, just a small datapad. When the speaker finally noticed her, he pointed a crystalline finger. "This is an act of war." Elena looked up calmly. "No, this is a demonstration. You told us to master teleportation. We did. You said our methods were crude. We used them anyway. Now your defenses mean nothing if we decide to step inside them." A simple message appeared on every delegate's screen. We can appear anywhere. We choose not to destroy. We choose to talk. But only as equals. The chamber went still. The Varun ambassador's tentacles drooped. A Silene representative flickered weakly. Even the proudest species looked smaller. Back on the embassy ship, Elena met her team in the secure room. Admiral Chen stood by the wall, arms crossed. "They are terrified," he said. Elena nodded. "Good. Terror makes them listen." Dr. Lin pulled up new scans. The displacement system held. We can scale it. Bigger ships, longer jumps. We are not elegant, but we are fast. Elena looked at the star map. Red dots marked council strongholds, shipyards, command centers, trade nexuses. Then we keep going, she said. Not to conquer, to prove the point. Railguns showed them we can break things. Teleporters show them we can be anywhere. When they understand both, the old order cracks. She paused, and it will crack quietly at first. Then, all at once. Outside, Valor Prime's twin moons rose slow and pale. The council delegates argued late into the night. Some wanted war. Most wanted talks. All felt the same cold truth sinking in. The humans had not waited for permission. They had built what they needed, used it without apology, and changed the rules forever. The shock was spreading, and the galaxy would never feel quite so safe again. The emergency conclave in the Spire of Concord felt different this time. The air inside the huge chamber seemed thicker, heavier, as if the galaxy itself held its breath. 52 species filled their seats, no empty places except the one reserved for the absent humans. The Caliph speaker stood tall on his raised platform, his crystalline body catching the light in sharp, angry flashes. Around him, the Vorun ambassadors kept their tentacles coiled tight, the Silene dimmed to a nervous flicker, and even the usually calm insectoid races clicked their mandibles in unease. The summons had been clear and sharp. Humanity must answer for the Nexara 7 incident, dismantle their dangerous displacement devices, and submit to full council oversight, or face total isolation. When the heavy doors opened, only Ambassador Elena Voss walked in. She wore a simple dark uniform with no medals, no symbols of rank. Behind her came no guards, no team, just one quiet aide carrying a small datapad. She stepped to the center podium alone, every eye locked on her. The Caliph's speaker spoke first, his voice ringing like breaking glass. You have weaponized discontinuity. Your railguns tear through proven defenses. Your so-called teleporters mock the very laws of causality that keep the stars stable. You will shut down these abominations. You will hand over all schematics. You will allow inspectors on every ship and every yard, or the Council will act as one to end this threat. Murmurs of agreement rose from the seats. Some delegates nodded firmly. Others looked away, unsure. Elena waited until the noise died completely. Then she lifted her chin and spoke in a voice that carried without shouting. We heard your demands. We considered them, and we decided no. A ripple of shock moved through the chamber. The speaker's crystals flared brighter. You dare defy the united will of 53 species? Elena met his gaze without blinking. We do not defy. We simply do not obey rules we never agreed to. You told us to grow up. We grew. You told us to master teleportation. We mastered it. You told us our methods were crude. We used them anyway. And now you threaten us because your old ways no longer keep you safe. She paused. We came here to talk as equals. You refused, so we will show you what equality really costs. She nodded to her aide. The aide activated the datapad. Across the chamber, every delegate's personal screen lit up at the same moment. Holofeeds appeared, sharp, clear, synchronized from 200 light-years away. The first images showed human battle groups emerging inside fortified council shipyards. One clip captured a human frigate materializing directly above a Caliph construction cradle on the ring world of Thalor. Railguns cycled once. Precise shots crippled shield generators and drive cores. No hull breaches. No civilian deaths. Just surgical destruction of military power. Another feed showed Vorun command spires on 3 different worlds. Human teams appeared on the command decks without warning. Marines stood calmly while stunned officers stared. No shots fired. Just presence. Control. The feeds kept coming. Silene research stations. Neutral depots. Border forts. In every case, the same pattern. Sudden arrival. Targeted strikes on weapons and command systems only. Then quiet withdrawal. No conquest. No occupation. Just proof. The chamber went dead silent. Delegates stared at the screens, faces pale or dim or frozen. The Kalith speaker tried to speak, but his voice failed. Elena continued, calm as ever. We did not come to conquer your worlds. We did not burn your cities. We hit only what makes you strong enough to threaten us, and we can do it again. Anywhere, anytime. She let that sink in. Then she added the final piece. But look closer. The feeds shifted. New angles appeared. Inside the spire itself, human figures stood quietly in the shadows behind the delegate seats. Not Marines in armor. Diplomats and engineers in plain clothes. They had teleported in during the opening statements. No alarms had sounded. No defenses triggered. They simply existed now, side by side with the most powerful beings in the galaxy. One human engineer stepped forward, nodded politely to a nearby Silene delegate, and said in perfect trade tongue, "Good evening. We mean no harm. We just wanted to be here for the conversation." Panic exploded. Delegates jumped up. Some species activated personal shields, others shouted for security. But the humans did not move. They stayed calm, hands open, weapons nowhere in sight. Elena raised one hand. The chamber quieted slowly, fearfully. "We could have ended this today," she said. "We could have taken the spire. We could have broken every fleet in orbit. We did not. Because we want peace. The kind where no one pretends to be above anyone else." She looked around the room. "You built an order that lasted thousands of years. It was beautiful for you. It was safe for you. It ignored us. Now it cannot ignore us anymore." She stepped back from the podium. "The choice is yours. Keep pretending we are barbarians who must be controlled. Or sit down with us as equals. Talk trade, talk borders, talk future, but talk honestly." For a long moment, no one moved. Then the Vorun ambassador lowered his tentacles in a sign of reluctant acceptance. A Silene representative brightened slowly. 12 smaller species stood and declared neutrality on the spot. 17 more sent quiet withdrawal notices through their pads before the session even ended. The ancient consensus cracked like thin ice under a hammer. Elena turned and walked out. Her aide followed. The human figures in the shadows vanished one by one, soft pops of displaced air the only sound they left behind. Outside the spire, in the cold corridor to the shuttle bay, Admiral Jian Chen waited. He had watched the feeds from the embassy ship. When Elena appeared, he fell in step beside her. "They are breaking already," he said quietly. She nodded. "Not all at once, but the fear is real now, and fear makes them think." They walked in silence for a moment. Then Elena spoke again. "We showed them the railguns. We showed them the teleporters. Now we showed them the cost of refusing us." Jian looked at her. "Next step? We wait," she said. "Let the shock do its work. Let the cracks spread. When they come to us, and they will, we set the terms." Far above, the stars burned unchanged. But down below, on Valor Prime, the old order felt smaller. The council that had ruled for millennia no longer felt eternal. It felt fragile. And the humans, once dismissed as crude children, now walked among the stars like adults who had finally been noticed. The shock had landed. And nothing would ever be the same. The months after the emergency conclave passed like a slow storm breaking over the galaxy. At first, the council tried to hold together. The Kalith speaker called daily sessions, demanding unity. issuing new proclamations, threatening embargoes that sounded bigger on paper than they felt in reality. But the cracks had already started. Smaller species, ones long tired of paying high tariffs and following strict rules, quietly stopped attending votes. They sent polite notes saying they had pressing domestic matters. Then the notes became less polite. Some simply stopped answering holocalls. The Vorun, proud and ancient, were the first big ones to bend. Their high command met in secret on a hidden moon. After 3 days of argument, they broadcast a short message to Earth. Reparations would be paid in rare transuranium isotopes, enough to fuel human yards for a decade. In return, they asked only for no more surprise visits inside their core systems. Earth accepted, without gloating. The Silene followed next. Their glowing representatives arrived at the human embassy on Valor Prime in person, something they almost never did. They offered full technological exchange, schematics for their bioluminescent energy lattices, neural interface designs, even hints at their long-life serums. In exchange, they wanted human engineers to teach them how to build displacement cores that did not cost a fortune in power. Elena Voss met them herself. She listened carefully, asked sharp questions, then agreed on terms that favored both sides equally. No one pretended the old hierarchy still existed. Word spread fast through the trade lanes. Species that had once bowed to the Council now opened direct channels to Sol. Bilateral deals replaced Council-approved routes. Rare minerals flowed to Earth without middlemen taking their cut. Human goods, simple, tough, reliable, started appearing in distant markets. Ships with railgun mounts and displacement nodes became common sights, no longer hidden. The Council did not fall in a great war or a dramatic explosion. It just faded. Sessions grew shorter. Attendance dropped. The glittering spire of Concord echoed with fewer voices. The Caliph retreated into their crystal worlds, sealing borders and refusing comment. The speaker's once commanding tone became thin and rarely heard. Other races followed quietly, one by one, until the weekly meetings stopped altogether. No formal dissolution ever happened. It simply ceased to matter. In its place, something new rose on Luna. The Terran Concordance Forum was not a grand palace. It was a wide, low building of steel and glass, built on the edge of the Sea of Tranquility. No soaring spires, no floating crystals. Just practical rooms, big viewports, and tables long enough for any number of delegates. Species came on their own terms now. Some sent ambassadors, some sent traders, some sent military officers who wanted to learn. No one had to beg for a seat. They just showed up and talked. Rules were few and simple. Speak honestly, keep your word, do not threaten. Break those, and you found yourself outside the conversation fast. Ambassador Elena Voss, now High Representative, stood often at the main viewport, watching Earth rise over the gray horizon. One quiet evening, Admiral Jian Chen joined her. They stood in silence for a while, the only sound the soft hum of the dome's air recyclers. Jian spoke first. They still call us barbarians behind closed doors. Elena gave a small, tired smile. Let them. Barbarians get invited to sit at the table. Civilized ones get lectured from the gallery. Jian looked out at the stars. We changed everything without firing a shot in anger after Nexara. We showed them reality, Elena said. They built a beautiful dream where they were always safe and always in charge. We reminded them the universe does not care about dreams. It cares about what works. Jian nodded slowly. And what comes next? Elena turned to face him. What always comes next? More questions, more deals, more chances to make mistakes or get it right. But on our terms, not theirs alone. Far above, in high orbit, a new constellation of human warships drifted into view. They were bigger than before, sleeker in some ways, but still unmistakably human. Blocky armor, long rail barrels running the length of their hulls, displacement nodes glowing faintly at key points. They blinked into existence without fanfare, took station, and waited. Ready for trade protection, ready for pirates, ready for whatever the galaxy threw next. No one pretended the stars belonged to any one group anymore. The old council's authority had shattered, not with bombs or conquest, but with the simple, stubborn fact that humans refused to stay small. They built what they needed, they used what they built, and when the shock hit, the galaxy had to adjust or break. It adjusted. Slowly, uneasily, but it adjusted. In the forum's main hall that same night, a mixed group of delegates gathered around a wide table. A Vorun trader waved a tentacle in greeting to a human engineer. A Silene shimmered politely at a Calith observer who had come alone, without title. Voices rose and fell in trade tongue and a dozen other languages. No one shouted. No one bowed too low. They just talked. About routes, about tech, about borders that no longer felt like walls. Outside, Luna's dust lay still under the black sky. Earth turned below, bright and busy. The humans who had once been dismissed as crude children now walked among the stars as equals. No, as something more. As people who had proven that grit, simple tools, and the courage to use them could outlast even the oldest elegance. The shock had done its work. The galaxy was wider now, rougher, more honest. And for the first time in millennia, no single voice claimed to speak for all of it. The future belonged to whoever could reach it first, and hold it without apology.